Yes.
So we'll carry on from where we stopped, and the critical thing is to, I think, appreciate the dynamic relationship and interdependence between so-called leaders and followers, and to actually just look at everybody as different types of leaders. And if you look at the rabbit and the turtle or the tortoise, this one has certain strengths, and so in a particular situation, this is the leader, the other one is the one being carried. Under a different circumstance, they both understand this is the one who can swim and I'm the one who needs help there. And when it comes to organizations, specialization is important. I will come back to this soon, so that we don't look at specialization as a problem. There are times when, for an organization, if you have 2-3 people who really want to do something different, try and help them set up their own. So after they saw everything you're doing and you say, you know what, yeah, we need to go online. And you feel, but one-to-one is whatever. Oh, we prefer online. Should that be seen as a difference that means a disunity? Or is just another department and we look at how to support them in what they specialize in, and they're the bosses, if you want to use that term. Why? Because it's an area of their greater competence. So when we deal with differences, to not always view differences as things that necessarily clash, but things that just go in separate ways. Not things to oppose, but things to just define more clearly, see what goal it is trying to fulfill, but you find it's in the same spirit of the whole organization or the bigger vision of the service you're trying to give. When it comes to motivation, we've said a little about this, so we won't spend too much time. Very briefly, purpose is what allows you and what motivates, an intrinsic motivation that makes you do something because you feel you're doing something greater and more enduring than me. You know, it's something that's pleasing to Allah. So if somebody says, why do you do the da'wah work you do? Why do you keep supporting this particular group with your money and your time? You're a busy person. It's because you feel that you should serve that objective through the organization. The organization is just a tool. You're not living or dying for it. But you feel it's what allows a collaboration of various talents that more effectively meets the goal you would have liked to meet. But since you can't do it on your own, you work with a group. If they change direction and change Qibla, you move to another group. Or you specialize. So purpose is very important, and the satisfaction depends not on merely having goals, but on having the right goals that's worth it. Goals that are greater than their own self-interest. In other words, the goal you have for da'wah should not just be for the purpose of da'wah. What is it for? It doesn't reject profits, popularity, but it places equal emphasis on maximization of purpose. Why do you do da'wah? Fi sabilillah. Yeah, any other reason? Well, it may be also an opportunity to learn. You know, they say when you come to wash your clothes, your hands get cleaner than your clothes. Your hands get cleaner before your clothes get clean. Same thing with dawah. If you're going to present, you will have to understand the topic better. What presenting also does psychologically is it makes you more committed to doing than a person who doesn't know and has not spoken about it. If I were to open my mouth on the need to diet better, exercise better, anything, the moment I start talking about it, my hypocrisy and duplicity will become more clearer to me. I'll feel more guilty about it. I'll therefore feel more concerned, more conscious about that area. Why? Because I don't want to live with my conscience disturbed. How are you saying this but you're not doing anything about it? So one of the things that teaching does is it puts a greater burden of responsibility upon you to live by what you say. So that's one of the benefits of dawah. You find it in a smaller version in arguments. When there's a debate on a topic. So should we say yes or no to a road going through this part of the city, or this jungle, or a flyover going, yes or no? No. What? I think yes. Because you've said no and you've said yes, if we say give reasons for saying no, you will suddenly become very creative in coming with reasons you would usually not even have, you wouldn't have used. But because you are forced to defend a position, you get more creative about it. And so does the other side. If, however, you said no, we shouldn't have that road, and you said yes, said okay. Just for the sake of academics, I want you to defend the yes position, and I want you to defend the no position. Just change sides. And then we will come back to your original positions. You will probably end up more reasonable than if we just started the way we did. You start to empathize with a position that you don't hold. Which is part of the reason why, even with salat, you don't feel like praying, just pray. You don't feel like being charitable, just do it. The action sometimes produces the feelings that go with it. So, for dawah, there may be other things. You may actually make a lot of profit from dawah. You wanted to establish a school. Why? To educate people. Because you're so passionate about it, because you are so competent, you've grown, you're good, it ended up becoming the best school. And even parents were complaining, but your school fees is too low compared to others. We're ready to pay more. The competition became so high that even though you only had about 400 seats in the whole school, you've got over 1,300 people applying. You could raise the school fees, you could double it, you could triple it, you would still have over 500 people applying. So, even though you say the objective was to satisfy an intrinsic motivation of purpose, it killed more than one bird. It fulfilled many other needs. Suddenly, you're popular, whether you like it or not. Everybody knows you as the one who did something good. And a lot of people feel, subhanallah, the way you answered that question, it gave me peace of mind. The way you did this, that's why I became a Muslim. The way you said this, I answered that other person, they accepted Islam. They became a better person. My child that wasn't listening, after listening to this lecture, subhanallah, I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. All that appreciation starts making you feel unvaluable. Of course, if you're not careful, it gets to your head, and it becomes extrinsic motivation. Next time you're doing it for that, because it's like a drug if you're not careful. We'll come back to that. But the key thing is, there are other positive side effects of da'wah that come along. You need to keep focus on your fi sabilillah. And I'm doing it seeking Allah's pleasure. I get better, I get therefore more appreciation, and that can distract you from your hedgehog. We mentioned the squirrel in the autumn. Here, I guess you probably don't have the very clear seasons that some other countries would have. At home we have a dry season and a rainy season. And during the dry season, it's dry. Dry means no grass. No one blade of grass anywhere. If you see any grass, somebody is giving it water. In some places, it's no grass because the grass is dead. Why? It's too cold. It's winter. All the water in the grass is frozen. It's finished. The only things that survive are some of the seeds that have gone into the soil. Squirrels have a habit, once they have the seasons of fruits and nuts, they start burying their food in preparation for another season. When you look at the energy, has anybody seen a squirrel moving before? Like it will give you a headache. You know, like on drugs. And it's just active. You won't believe, like, who pays you to do that? Like, why is this all? It's worthwhile. So you have this need as a human being to have worthwhile work that's sufficiently motivating. And when working with people, it's important to remind people of the purpose of your dawah. It's not just an end in itself, it's also a means to many other ends, not just for the hereafter, but betterment in this world too. Challenge, however, is people have various needs. One need we all have is to have greater certainty in life. These are called basic needs in one branch in psychology. Greater certainty, greater assurance that the future is going to be better than the past. The future is hopefully going to be better than the present. That I'll be financially safer. I'll be able to afford my children to go to a good school or good university. I'll be able to retire comfortably. And that 20 years from now, 50 years from now, whenever, I've been in a situation where I can help more people. Most people want that. Some want it more than others. So you will find some people who, the moment you start talking, they're all about financial plans. And everything about them is planning. They want greater certainty. Some people, this is not too important. It's important, but not too important. Some don't even read anything on financial literacy, and they don't care about the financial future of anybody. So this is an important need. Another one is growth. And just as some people, if you look at their bookshelves, it's books on finance and investment, and you know, they know the websites to go to, they're into this, they're into that. And what's driving them is greater certainty, less risk, less uncertainty about the future. For some, it's growth. They're always learning, they're always reading, and when you look at their lifestyle, you think they are here just to become more. They are never the same people. Come 1 year later, they've got more to tell you. Come like 6 months later, they're always growing, always learning. Another course is available online, another lecture to go to, etc. So you've got people who are just intrinsically motivated by growth. You can give him 1,000 ringgits and he would say thank you. You pay for him to attend a course that costs 5,000 ringgits. The money didn't come to his pocket, but he appreciates more that course than the money. The money would have given him more purchasing power, but you spent 5,000 ringgits on somebody else. He only got the knowledge, and maybe it was just a weekend course. But he appreciates that knowledge more than he appreciates the money. Some people, they would not spend 100 ringgits on learning anything new. The moment they say a book, the first thing, what's the cost? For some people, they look at the book, they don't look at the cost. They're getting it. And if they don't have the money, they'll look for the money. But the cost doesn't deter them. And for some people, this is critical. And so when they come into da'wah work, some, I just want to be a better father, better this, better that, they're thinking ahead. Others, I just want to be better. For some people, it's connection, it's affection, it's a social benefit. Maybe I'll find a nice person, I'll make some nice friends. I like coming there because it's relaxing. You get to laugh, clean, decent people. And for some, that's it. The lectures, they don't remember a lot at the end of it. They're not taking notes, they're not reading, they're not whatever, but they're with you. And they will always be with you. And you're kind of like, this person doesn't grow. They've been attending, they're not coming to grow, but they're with you. They wish you all the best, but they really just need connection. For some people, it's significance. They really, they like the thank you. They like the well done. Da'wah is their area through which they get fame, they get recognition, and they don't like, it really, really hurts them if you say that lecture was terrible. Yeah, it's very painful. And if you say that was great, or you've charged his batteries for the next month. Yeah. And for some people, they don't care whether you liked it or not. If you liked it, good. But that wasn't why I was saying it. Yeah, somebody was saying, I was just doing it feasibly, I'm just trying to contribute. Some people, yes please.
If the purpose is the significance and relevance, can we say it's a part of ikhlas? Because it seems that it's a worldly thing.
Yeah, these are all potential distractions. Yeah. The danger is if you're doing it just for the sake of significance, then you would only go where there are big crowds. You would only go where there are important people. You would only go where your significance will be enhanced, not who needs it most. Yeah. So you remember Abasa wa Tawalla, blind man, poor man wants, a leader wants. You think that if I can get this guy, it'll give us more protection, more security. For some people, they only want to do da'wah to the elite. Yeah, you're not very well to do, not important. When somebody with a nice suit comes, I'd like to learn about something. Oh, come on, have a seat, da-da-da. When somebody else comes more humble, what do you want? Yeah, so we need to really ask ourselves, if the Prophet was sent as a rahmah to all the world, are we really that inclusive? Are we really for all? So need to just really be careful about each of these because it can affect your intrinsic motivation and your original purpose for wanting to do something. So these are natural, but they can be distracting. So for some it's variety, adventure. It's just something different. And after a while they leave and go for something else. And after a while they leave and go for something else. They pick from here, they pick from there, but they like variety. And if you keep coming, and today it's about converts, and then tomorrow it's about non-Muslims, and then another day it's something else. And then tomorrow it's about converts, another day this, another day that. Somebody else, good, another convert. Another convert. Yeah. So people differ. And so the question of variety, of experience, the adventure of something new, that's what brings some people. And once they have had their fair share and dose of that, that's it. Yeah. Variety variety is spice of life, and some people just want a lot of spice in their lives. For some people, it's about contribution. Yeah, it's about contribution. And if you say, why are you doing it? That's it. I just like to contribute, and I can't see myself doing anything other than that. All these are important, but they are important to varying degrees for different people. Usually everybody has their major two. Major, that means like 70% of your bookshelf is on two of these. 30, the rest. When you look at the time you spend with your friends, who are your closest friends and what would you normally talk about? You'd find two of them dominating. And where you are with, when you see a book on something that you're interested in, you pick it. If it's not, you don't. A lecture, it's on Islam, but what aspect of Islam? So this is useful, but critical, which we will come back to, is of these needs, we would want to also look at which are those needs that are usually more in line with da'wah work. I guess it's a bit obvious, right? What would you say here? Number 6, contribution. And which one again? 2, exactly. Because usually you contribute and you want to be better at contribution, so you have to grow. And so most of what you read is tied to what other topics you talk about. If you already are addicted to contribution and growth, lucky you. Then you find da'wah just so simple, no big deal. We'll come back to contribution soon. Managing things, mute management, any idea what this is about? Silent? Treatment? Okay, we'll just do a little exercise. I'd like to request, let's see. Yeah, we'll see who can do it faster. If you don't mind, the sisters to stay on one side of the room. Brothers, stay on another side of the room, and I'll give you your instructions. Gender specific. Yes. Okay, so if we can just move some of, actually just stay at the back. What do we do with those chairs? And just stay in between. We may have to move some of this. We just need a little bit of space, enough space for say 2 rows. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Or should we go to the other room?
No. Outside, you do exercise?
Yeah, no. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Pasal aircon, pasal dulu aircon.
What happened?
No problem.
That happens all the time.
Lekat apa pelekat putih itu apa?
Transport belakang gitu. Ya. Cari lagi untuk ni. Ada sedikit juga. Okey, tidak sebab banyak sedikit noise.
Aha, this thing is not working now, right? Alright, so what we want to do now is, brothers stay here, sisters please if you could stay there. Rule number 1, no talking. No talking. What I'd like you to do in a straight line facing one direction, the shortest person at one end of the line, the tallest person at the other end of the line. I'd like us to see which group achieves that first. No talking. I think those who won first were the sisters. Congratulations. Second assignment. The youngest on one side, the oldest on the other side of the line. No mistakes. Are you sure you are older than her? Are you sure you're 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 older than her? And are you sure you're older than her? Good. You're sure you're younger than him? You're sure you're younger than him? Same. You're sure you're younger than him? You're sure you're older? Same. You're sure you're older? You think? How old are you? 39? 31? Good. One last one. The person with the darkest eye color on one end and the lightest on the other end. No talking. Okay, everybody pretty comfortable? How accurate you are is not what's most important. What's most important that I want to emphasize before we leave this topic is situational leadership. Who was leading when it came to arranging? Okay, so in the last section, he was leading. And probably what would happen, the more we carry on with one exercise after another, who was leading in the first one? Brother Lim played a greater role. In the first one, actually, I found about 6 of you. Yeah, there's a lot of leaders among the brothers. So that's what took a lot of time. It took time, and it takes time for any group to gradually agree it's you. And once you've done it successfully, it's going to be you next time. It's going to be you next time. Remember, if we, however, had put it in class, we're going to do this exercise. Who would you suggest should be the leader? Do you think they would have automatically come up with him? No. Because what you also have is some people who, the moment you give an instruction, they do not take it you're talking to them. They stay. You tell me how tall I am. If you say I should stay here, I'll stay here. They don't complain. You tell me how old you think I am. You're going to stay on this side. They don't communicate. They don't say, is my eye color darker or lighter? I don't know. But if you say I'm here, I'll be there. So one thing I'd like us to take away from this, we'll discuss more. Situational leadership, the situation picks the leader. It's not planned. You can agree, she's the leader, he's the leader, you're the intellectual, you're the whatever. And we've agreed, yes. So we even give you a title. You're director, you're treasurer, you're this, you're that. But as you change situations, as new challenges are faced by the organization, new people start to emerge. But it's sometimes taken as a threat to leadership. When that's just the natural thing to happen. The problem is, you emerge this time, you emerge next time, now everybody thinks it should be you. What about the person we agreed was leader? And you find sometimes tension coming up. And one thing that's important for you to be aware of, if you're the kind of person who you just find naturally you fit into the role, be aware that you are potentially being politically disruptive with all your good intentions. Yeah. We can go back now.
Tapi cakap lah, dia cakap. Buka aja tak?
Okay.
Kalau buka, kalau orang lain kan?
Yes.
What other lessons would you have picked or did you pick from that exercise?
Must cooperate each other.
The importance of cooperation.
Honesty.
Honesty.
And decision making.
What about it?
You have to decide whether you could be in a wrong position. Like the idea, and who cares? And how will we measure it? Definitely not accurate, but we will do because we wanted to win.
Decision making, right or wrong, doesn't matter.
Interesting.
Yes, make decision to lead,
Yeah.
and he make decision who's darker. Actually, I don't know how we differentiate who is darker.
Actually, just lining up.
This is, I think, very, very important about situational leadership. Situation is picking. Situation is not necessarily intelligent. I mean, we get a lot of corrupt leaders. Why? Because, hey, I want to run as whatever. Okay. That's it. He knows how to talk. You know, he's done this before, Does he care about you? Does he care about your organization? Does he care about any values? What brought this person in? Makasid matters. What brings you? Did you come just for significance? It's important for you to ask that question, because sometimes you're not aware that your intrinsic motivation is significance. You think it's vis-a-vis-lillah. The only time you will know what it is when a situation comes and you want to take all the credit, or you felt very hurt that somebody else took credit. You felt so hurt, you could hardly sleep. And when somebody said, oh, that guy made an excellent, unbelievable, do you feel jealous? Do you feel envious? You need to take account and be alert to what's going on inside. As humans, we keep changing. But because we are changing gradually, we don't notice it is sometimes for the worse. So, important that as individuals we ask ourselves, what brings us? What is most important to you now may not be what is most important to you later. And it is important when organizations are going through challenges that they realize they want the organization to survive. The challenge should not be handled, because many challenges will come. It's like a marathon. Many challenges. There will be different bends on the road. You shouldn't allow one challenge to break or spoil relationships such that when that challenge is over with, it's difficult for you to handle the next challenge. Either as a community, either as a group. Just a group of friends or family. And this is where we'll come to this issue of the ethics of disagreement and the importance of measuring your battles, measuring your fights. The role of forgiveness and just let go, it doesn't matter. It's not worth it. Why? Our unity is far more important than who is right and who's wrong on this issue. You could have been dead, what would happen? They'll still go with that person's decision. You are alive. So what's the big deal with going still with that person's decision? If it's just another way. I don't think it's the right way, but is it derailing the whole organization? No. So let it go. What do you want from here? This is partly related to what we said earlier on. What do you want from an organization? What needs are being met? What brings others? It's important to know. If you're going to try and meet needs, it's important to know what those needs are. Otherwise, a person is around feeling unfulfilled when all they needed was just somebody to show they care. That's all. They're good at graphic design. They're good at this other thing. They're good at that other thing. All they need is a group of friends, and to them, oh, no problem. Oh, no, that's easy. That's easy. Repair your laptop. It's not a big deal. Or I'll do this. Or I'll contact that person. What did they want in return? They just wanted connection. Or they just wanted some significance. That when you bring people and you show the artwork I did, that, you know, it'd be good if you didn't mind mentioning that that was my artwork. For some people, that's it. There's nothing wrong in a major thing for you being certainty. It's good to know that is what it is. Just be careful about allowing it to define you. But for you who is in leadership position, it's important to know what matters to others. What are they struggling more with? And how, if somebody recognition really matters, then give recognition as much as you can. Give thanks. The Prophet said, whoever doesn't thank people has not thanked Allah. Another version, the other way around. If you thank Allah, thank people. So it is important to give appreciation. And for some people it matters a lot. For some it doesn't matter. Just because it doesn't matter to you doesn't mean it doesn't matter to others. You just happen.
Please explain why you said the word love. In public. You shouldn't use the word love to your spouse in public.
What did the Prophet say? You love somebody, tell them you love them.
Yes.
Don't tell me you can't.
Say you took sushi.
Where was I? Exactly. So last we discussed this issue of rewards that are non-financial, non-material. Another thing that's important is succession. And that's why this is not just important as a way of motivating people, but as part of your own succession plan. It's what allows you to grow. It allows you to move from just managing to leading, allowing people to handle the activities of day to day while you focus on where you want to be next year. We'll come back to this question of leadership and management. But how many of you can have an idea what is meant by the canopy effect? What's a canopy?
Tree.
Aha. Somebody said trees. Where do you find canopies? In the rainforest. How much grass do you have in a savanna? You've seen it? A lot. A lot of grass in the savanna. Lions, everybody is ready to hide in the grass. How much grass do you have in the rainforest? Very little. Why? Very limited sunlight. The canopy has blocked it, and so they really can't grow. In organizations, what you usually have is a canopy created by people who get the experience of running things. They plan, they organize, they arrange this, they book that. There are few people who do probably 20% of the leadership, does 70% of the tasks, or 80 or more. They've done it before, therefore they do it again. And this brother was the MC. Why? Well, he did it before last time. He did it very well. And this is an important program, so he'll do it again. And he gets better. But he forms a canopy. He actually blocks younger people from that experience. And because he does it so well, he becomes a more effective canopy. Like only a fool would say, let somebody else try it. Is it understood? Yeah. And this is dangerous because people go. The leader goes. So you have to deliberately, however good you are, you have to deliberately create space in the canopy for experience to come down to the grassroots. So that it becomes a learning organization. Not just the canopy gets the sunlight, but you make sunlight available. Left to followers, nah, you do it. You did it well before, I don't want to take risks. So sometimes you actually have to take the follower, if I use that term, you know what I mean. But a follower is just an understated form of leadership. Remember that. So, importance of being careful about the canopy effect and appreciating intelligent mistakes. There are stupid mistakes, there are intelligent mistakes. Intelligent mistakes are those mistakes that are inevitable when you come to learn. You want to ride a bicycle, but you think you will not fall. You have to fall. But if you don't fall, you won't ride a bicycle. They come together. You want to do public speaking with no mistakes. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. You want to drive a car, no mistakes. It doesn't happen. Those mistakes that are necessary for getting better are intelligent mistakes that should be embraced as part of the learning. You're sitting with your friends, your younger brother or daughter, who is probably about 6 years old, goes into the kitchen, opens the fridge, pours some juice inside some glass cups, puts the cups on a tray, decides to come and offer drinks to 6 of you. On their way, something happens. The glasses break. Is that a stupid mistake or an intelligent mistake? Be very careful about blaming the child. Because the next time they won't even try it. But if you take it, this was an intelligent mistake, oh, sorry about that, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. 5 important cups broken, but there's a quality and a habit you don't want to kill. Yeah, that was a good intention. And I'm blessed by Allah that I have a son who thinks that way. If people make mistakes, intelligent mistakes, and you hit them hard, they'll stop experimenting. They'll stop trying. You kill their creativity. So when you give more sunlight and you try and reduce the canopy effect, it means you're going to embrace more mistakes, the kind of mistakes you did, but which you graduated from. So we won't spend much time on this, but I think it's clear enough the importance of deliberately biting your tongue when somebody makes an intelligent mistake and reinterpret the mistake to see the creativity in it and appreciate it. Don't let the child leave with a feeling of, oh man, I shouldn't do that again. No. Maybe next time, plastic cups. It always happens. I do the same thing. Thank you very much. That's it. Next time you want to do, just let me know. I'll come and give you a hand. I'm going to use the glass cups too. But appreciate the value of intelligent mistakes. And when you give people responsibilities, when you plant a seed and it's growing, do you uproot it every 2 days to see how the roots are doing? See how well? Yeah, when you give people an assignment, give them space. Let them make their mistakes. No, if you do that, it will happen. No, not like that. Leave them. Let life teach some lessons. Your child wants to play with the razor blade. Be careful. Don't ever. He will hold a razor blade one day. He wants to play with a candle. Just be there. Just let him know this is hot. Every time, I remember my son growing up, morning tea, and he would put his own little hot milk or Milo, and put some ice cubes to cool his own down, but he always wanted your own. And you feel, mine is hot. If you try to touch it and it falls, so you just hold your cup, okay, touch the cup. You say, hot, hot. And he's crying. Hot. Touch again. No. There's some lessons that, how do you teach heat without somebody feeling it? But better I'm there. If it's not fatal, it's not deadly, it's not deforming the child, etc., be very careful about too much protectionism. The same thing you do sometimes with an organization. You want to protect the image of an organization. We won't try new people. We won't try and allow mistakes. Then fine, you won't make mistakes. But then when you go, that's it. You're not a level 5 leader. And something we've already spoken before, be careful about rewarding people with promotion. With some people, if they're good teachers, just increase their salaries. Put them on the board of the school, just a class teacher. But this is the reason why people bring their children to that class. He is so good. And so think of other rewards, more autonomy, more participation. He now, even though he's a teacher, is among the people who you invite to conduct training programs, so that your school conducts training programs for maybe lower income school teachers who pay a token fee. But he is now a resource person and a presenter. And that contribution gives him a sense of significance, appreciation. He's somebody. So So it's not always promotion go to a level of incompetence. It's a little like mountain sickness. Does anybody know mountains here? Not really. Mountains?
Indonesia?
You know mountain sickness? Yeah, altitude sickness. When you go very high, the air gets thinner, less oxygen, and you can get very sick. I once, when we were younger, my mom took us to, it's one of the highest volcanic mountains in the world. It's on Tahiti, on the Canary Islands. And you go up with cable car, you reach a height, you cannot walk for 10 meters without resting. This is, you just need so much air to just get a little oxygen. My dad couldn't make it. He had to go down. He just got sick. He started feeling faint. So be careful about promoting people to a level of incompetence. Let people go gradually. Their body adapts. People who play sports, particularly marathon runners. Marathon runners, to help their stamina, they try to go, boxers do the same thing, number of people, they go to high altitudes to go and train. First day, they're not doing a lot. First week, they're not doing a lot. It'll take them about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to acclimatize and for their body to develop enough blood cells to cope with the low oxygen level. So their red blood cells increase, so their ability to utilize oxygen is highly enhanced. So when they come to do the run, then they come down. Challenge sometimes is their blood has too much red blood cells. So they want it to be higher than everybody else's, but not too high. So you will run a kilometer and you are panting and they are breathing as if they were just walking. A little what they need. But the danger really is going too quickly, promoting people too quickly. So just remember, promotion is not necessarily a good move. Even though the person will feel honored, I'm now this, but be very careful about that. If this person is good at this area, how do you reward them through other means? There's an interesting book.
Eventually, they all discovered their own kind of cheese. case they needed to begin to that window.
But Ham and Mama woke each day a little later. Sauntered over to cheese stations.
After all, they knew where the cheese was and how to get there, and they assumed it would always be there.
Ham and Haw put their running shoes away. They thought they wouldn't be needing them again.
This is great! There's enough cheese here to last us forever! Sure is!
They felt secure. They even decorated the walls with sayings.
Ham and Haw became so comfortable they didn't notice what had been happening.
Meanwhile, Snip and Scurry inspected the area each morning to see if there had been any changes from the day before.
One morning, they arrived at cheese station C and discovered there was no cheese.
They weren't surprised, since they noticed the supply of cheese had been getting smaller.
The mice did not overanalyze things. The situation had changed. So, Snip and Scurry changed.
They were soon off in search of new cheese.
Later that day, Ham and Haw arrived at cheese station C.
They have not been paying attention to the changes that had been taking place.
No cheese? No cheese? Who my cheese? It's not fair! Ham, I know we're smarter than mice, but we're not acting like it at the moment. What'll happen if the cheese isn't here tomorrow? I made plans based on this cheese.
While Snip and Scurry had moved on, Ham and Haw continued to Ham and Haw.
One night, Pa wrote on the wall.
The more important cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it.
The next day, Ham and Haw still somehow expected to find their cheese in the same place.
Why did they do this to me? Now, where are Snip and Scurry? Do you think they know something we don't? No, they're just simple mice. We're good people. We're entitled to our cheese. Yeah, but maybe we should just simply get going and find some new cheese. Oh, no. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I want things to be the way they were.
Meanwhile, Snip and Scurry moved further into the maze. They didn't think of anything else but finding new cheese.
After much trial and error, Snip and Scurry found the biggest store of cheese they had ever seen at Cheese Station A.
Meanwhile, Hem and Haw were still hemming and hawing at empty Cheese Station C.
Then, Haw began to imagine himself out in the maze, finding fresh, cold cheese.
Before long, he could almost taste it.
Come on, Hem. Let's go. No, I like it here. It's comfortable. Besides, it's real dangerous out there.
Haw imagined the worst. His hope of finding new cheese faded.
So every day, Ham and Haw went from the malls to the cheeseless Station C.
And returned home again with empty bellies, full of nothing but stress.
My cheese. My cheese. Ham, look at us. We keep doing the same things over and over and wonder why things don't get better. It's time to move on. You're not really going out in the maze again. Why don't we wait here until it put the cheese back? You just don't get it. They're never going to put the old cheese back. That was yesterday's cheese. It's time to find new cheese. Oh, but what if there's no cheese out there? Or what if you can't find it? Damn, life moves on, and so should we. No! Ooh, white cheese. Ooh, white cheese. Ooh, white cheese. Don't change. We could become extinct.
Like him, a part of Haw was afraid. Then Haw wrote on the wall what he had been thinking about.
What would you do if you weren't afraid?
It wasn't long before Haw knew what to do. Haw gathered all his courage and jogged into the unknown.
It's maze time!
At first, he felt lost. But it wasn't long before he began to find his way.
Being back in the maze isn't nearly as bad as I feared. How did I get into this situation? I've been watching what was happening.
Haw stopped to write on the maze wall what he was learning.
feels so good. I don't have any cheese and I don't know where it is. Aha! When you move beyond your fear, you feel free.
The more clearly Ha imagined himself finding new cheese, the more real it became.
Imagining myself enjoying new cheese even before I find it leads me to it.
Finally, Paul arrived at a large cheese station.
But it was practically empty.
I'm too late. If I'd moved on sooner, I might have found a lot of new cheese here.
Han did find several delicious morsels of new cheese.
It wasn't much, but enough to keep him going.
I've got to get back and tell him there's some new cheese out here.
Ha raced back to Cheese Station C, following the route he had marked.
He found his friend still hamming and hawing. Ham had not even put on his running shoes.
Oh, hell. You look hungry. Here, have a few bits of new cheese.
I don't think I would like new cheese. I want my own cheese back. I'm sure if I wait here long enough, things will be the way they were.
Will Ham ever change?
Ham was left behind. Ham did by fear, comfort, and denial.
I guess Ham believes he can or won't enjoy new cheese. He seems to believe that if he ventures into the maze, things will get worse. I see now that if I do things differently, things will get better. When you change what you believe, you change what you do.
Paul found bits of cheese here and there and began to regain his strength. He hoped that Ham might find his way by reading the handwriting on the wall.
Ha had let go of the past and was adapting to the present. He was pursuing new cheese.
And then it happened.
High everywhere was the greatest supply of cheese he had ever seen.
Wow! New cheese! Is it real or just my imagination? It is real!
Ha realized that Snip and Scurry had been enjoying new cheese for quite a while. He vowed that next time he would change faster.
Han knew it would be easy for him to slip back to his old ways if he got too comfortable.
So each day he inspected Cheese Station N to check the condition of his cheese.
He went out into the maze and explored new areas.
He knew it was safer to be aware of his real choices than to isolate himself in his comfort zone. Then one day, Ha heard what he thought was the sound of movement out in the maze.
Could it be Ham? Was Ham about to turn the corner?
Ha hoped that maybe at last his friend was finally able to
Move to the new cheese and enjoy it.
Can you read the handwriting on the wall? Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Anticipate change. Smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old. Adapt to change quickly. When you let go of old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy new cheese. Enjoy change. Savor the adventure and enjoy the taste of new cheese. Be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again. They keep moving the cheese.
Okay. What do you get from that?
Cheese good, yes.
Stepping out of your comfort zone.
Stepping out of your comfort zone. What does that mean?
Dare to adventure.
Sorry?
Dare to adventure. Dare to adventure.
Dare to adventure. Good. What is the comfort zone? What do we mean by your comfort zone?
Complacency.
Sorry?
Complacency.
Complacency? what you are comfortable with, what you're used to doing, what you saw your forefathers doing, what's easy for you. You've developed some talents, you were known to be a great da'i, whatever, in this area. That's your comfort zone. What was cheese?
Reward.
The reward, whatever it is that you want. And things change. And if you're not monitoring change, it can hit you by surprise. You stay in your comfort zone, you're too comfortable that you actually don't want to believe change is happening. We easily say, oh, things were 50 years ago very different from the way they are now. People change. Our parents, they're outdated. When are you going to agree you are outdated? Sometimes never. And so when it comes to anything, particularly in Dakwah, attendance of programs, people's commitments, you need to ask yourself, what are you going to measure so as to be able to objectively know when has the cheese been moved and you are just doing things the old way. And you need to move out of that comfort zone. If you're going to stay relevant, very few companies have survived more than a century. Few of them. Very, very few. A lot of them have had to diversify. They were in cars or motorcycles, then they went to musical instruments. They were producing Coca-Cola, now producing water. They're producing perfume. Same company now is making chocolate. Cheese has moved. And the need to realize somebody was making Kit Kat. And that was it, no competition then. But when everybody started making different types of wafers, you had to start having orange flavored Kit Kat and dark chocolate flavored Kit Kat, even green tea flavored Kit Kat. You have to really get out of your comfort zone. What some call think out of the box. In Da'wah, what examples do you have of cheese having been moved?
The trend, how the audience have changed the way they think based on the trend, generation gaps, for example. This kind of thing.
That's an important point. Trends, the generation gap, where a lot of speakers are not talking in a way the younger generation would understand them. Now, we used to think, who's the highest authority on any topic? Which scholar is he? Where is he from? The younger generation, their mind is not who in Malaysia, it's who in the world. It's who you can Google. It's no more the local scholar, the local championship. It's a global competition for relevance. Where else do you think Muslims have gone out of sync, or Da'wah has gone out of sync? The cheese has been moved, but we're still doing things in the same old way.
The way we present Islam, or the way we do public speaking, and I think most of the people that they at their comfort zone, that they doesn't want to go out of the box, doesn't want to learn. See, they think that they have the knowledge, they'll be able to present it well. But in actual facts that they have the knowledge but they do not know the technique, the methodology to present, to convince people. And we must also follow the trend because the people today not only want to listen to talk, they want entertainment, they want something different. Yeah.
And so probably 20 years ago, an Islamic program would probably not have a lot on management. And so those who designed the curricula for Islamic studies in universities did not feel there was a need for any management. That mosque was not a place you needed to manage. That public speaking skills were things you just developed naturally, that there was no need for training in these areas. That khutbahs did not need PowerPoints. You go to a mosque and just look around and you see just young people on their phones and khutbah is going on. Like, it's not engaging. And for some, they don't care. Sometimes you find institutions, curricula. When you look at somebody graduating from Islamic studies from a university, and you look at the topics handled, you go and do a survey of what questions disturb people most, and you kind of like, no match. Yeah. Over 80% of the questions people are asking, these people have not been prepared to handle. Over 80%. And so it's not surprising. Very few people who have been effective in da'wah actually come from Islamic studies backgrounds. Yeah. A lot of the most active in da'wah, first degree, nothing to do with Islam. If they went for masters, nothing to do with Islam. Like they picked it by the side just because they were passionate about it. We notice that. You would probably describe certain government institutions as being out of sync, out of touch with the needs for Muslims. Some are still, it's me and my madhab. Most young people are they don't even know what a madhab is. They're just like, it's Islam, right? When they go online, they're not asking what is the madhab of Qardawi or Hamza Yusuf or whatever. They just want a good answer. But in some other places, no, it has to be. I think in Malaysia some things are changing, but slowly. And you usually need converts to make a big deal about something, or reverts to make a big deal about something before, okay, we'll change. Otherwise, it's just old station C. So, for us, as people involved in da'wah, how do you think we can handle cheese being moved? Can we stop cheese from being moved? No. The world keeps changing and everything keeps changing. The technology keeps changing. Sorry? Exactly. Embracing the change. And like with the mice, actually keeping your shoes with you. Be ready to change. If people move to Facebook, maybe we need to organize a 2-day course. You probably need just 30 minutes to learn how to go onto Facebook. But you would like to organize a 2-day course for the ulama and imams to open a Facebook page. The key thing is just don't wait until they've moved on to Bing and Twitter and all these things and you kind of, what is it? Sometimes you have to help people move. And very critical if we are not ready to move ourselves. Because it's sometimes you kind of like, no, don't worry, I've survived so far, I'll survive. Not necessarily. There's a point that Lynn just mentioned about things having changed. The knowledge may be relevant, but your method of presentation. And what we are looking at is certain new frontiers we have in da'wah and the need for us to look at the new cadre of Dawah volunteers, experts, and the frontiers. Probably some time ago, graphic designers were not useful volunteers. People who knew how to upload online were not too important. Bloggers were not too important. But they are becoming more important, and the sooner you embrace them, the better. Looking at targeting the type of lifestyle that people live is becoming more important. How many types of Malaysians are there according to their lifestyles? One? What can you do that all Malaysians would listen to? What can you say? What medium of communication, which channel, what can you do that everybody would listen to? Facebook? Do you think you can get to the majority of people that are 50 years and above through Facebook? No. I want one magic bullet for everyone. TV? When last did people below the age of 25 or 30 watch local television? When last did you watch television? Particularly an announcement or an advert, not a movie. Businesses, sorry. Jummah khutbah.
You don't get the ladies, but with the men they have a range of ages.
So that's one place you can get a lot of Muslims, but as you noted, you'll probably miss out a lot of the women. So if you look at the various types of lifestyles, from where people go, where they get their entertainment from, where they get their news from, where they shop, where they everything, you probably realize, as we should, that there isn't one way of getting to everybody. So what people in marketing and in politics do is to segment society. You're a politician. If you want to get to the IT nerds, what is the best way to get to them? That's not the same way you would get to the religious folk who would go to the mosques. And would you say most Muslims go to the mosque? No. So even there, you will probably be teaching or preaching to the converted. So the kind of people who will go for a Jummah khutbah and pay attention there would get you a particular group in the community. If you speak in English, you get another community. If you speak Malay, you will get somebody else, but not somebody else. Radio would get another group of people, probably more rural people than television, and probably poorer people. And there are certain channels that have a lot of music that younger people would listen to more than other channels that have a lot of news, like CNN, etc., that a different group of people would listen to. And why this is important is so that we don't feel too important. To recognize there's a particular segment in society, it's usually quite small, it's usually not larger than 10%, that your method of da'wah will ever reach. When you say leadership, is leadership one group? You probably find there's a kind of people among the leadership, probably anything around 5%, who are just interested in making money and power, and they don't care about your Islam and this and that. They only care about it if it will win more votes. And there are some people among the Muslims, among non-Muslims, among the Buddhists, among the Hindus, who they are selfless, they really mean good for the whole society. And they would listen to particular type of information. They would read particular type of books, not other books. So when it comes to da'wah, it is useful for us to recognize that we need to acknowledge that we have our own intellectual ghetto. You know what a ghetto is? Like a neighborhood. My friends are generally people like me. We tolerate a lot of the same type of things. We don't tolerate the same type of things. We go to similar places. We read similar books. We're interested in similar information. And it's easy to think that's how people are. No, that's just your little intellectual neighborhood. The websites you keep going to are similar to the other websites you keep going to. And are probably by people who are similar to the authors of the books you like reading. What you find appealing is just one small segment of society. But you want your da'wah to go to the whole society. You have to therefore learn to embrace people who dress differently. People who are music lovers. Why? That's another segment you will never get to. But that segment, some of the nasheed artists can take da'wah there. Those who like dramas and producing documentaries and movies, you ask them, when did you last watch a documentary or a movie? Can't remember. There are people who watch a movie every day. There are people who, the only da'wah, they have no time to listen to a lecture, to attend a course. But if there's a soup kitchen, that is the only area they will get to meet a live Muslim. You know, like they see the posters and all that, but when you say a live one. And so it's important when we're dealing with volunteers to be careful that sometimes it's not just cheese is moving, will move. No, some has moved long ago. It's you that hasn't woken up to the understanding that there's a huge segment of society your da'wah is not reaching and will not reach. In fact, the way you're doing it, it will never. Unless you are able to be more accepting of a greater variety of people. So you may find, for example, some who have embraced Islam have a network of people that Muslims just don't have. I won't to spend too much time on that, but the key point here is the new cadre of da'wah volunteers, experts you need to handle the various lifestyles in society. Not just your type, the people who think like you and go to the same everything like you. A lot of my friends, if they come to meet me in Nigeria, I know how to entertain them. Because it's not a major change from my lifestyle. You know, we'll probably go to the library. They'll be interested in my bookshelf. They'll be interested in just sitting down, talking about all sorts of things. But we won't go much into politics, maybe just a little bit. We'll go into football, or the latest musicians, or fashion. We just think alike. We may go fishing, but you need people who are outside your circle. So the need to be more embracing of that diversity. And that diversity keeps changing. And somebody was saying, some people find it difficult to read a fat book. They'd like to see more pictures. A book that looks like some of the books some of us read would be boring. They'd like a funky title. The font has to be carefully selected. the size, what type of diagrams you have, how catchy are the titles. Not a boring title, Basic Introduction to Islam. You know, like, who would buy that? You know, yeah, we would. You'll have to come up with something a little more weird. And so you need the help of people who come from various backgrounds. A lot of YouTube now, you want to give a long 1 hour talk, who's going to watch? The same thing, just break it up into 3 minutes and then watch it all. Maybe not at one sitting, but the 3 minute, yeah, I'll watch that. Ah, that was cool. Let me watch the other one. Let me watch the other one. They'll end up listening to the whole 30 minutes, but only because it's 3 minutes. And they'll listen to 10 of those. But they won't listen to 130 minutes. Just 30 minutes, no time. Oh, but let's buy this guy when I'm free. And they're never free. They forget that you don't save it. So that's one thing to remember. The other thing is the importance of design. The importance of form. And we won't spend much time on this. So this is just that, you can't produce a website without caring about the design. You can't produce a book for da'wah without caring about the design. Some books, you look at the book, you can tell the book looks like it belongs to 1990s. Just the way with cars, you look at a car and this car belongs to the 80s, that one belongs to 2000 and something. There's a kind of car you see, now this is new. You've never seen the car before, but the design tells you a little about the decade. People's dressing. Now they have all these unmatching colors, tight trousers, whatever, and that's supposed to be hip. Storytelling is becoming more important now. Nearly every best-selling book is a storybook, whatever the subject. Maybe a book on psychology, maybe a book on marketing, maybe a book on law. Topics that you would like. Who would buy a book on sociology? Who would buy a book on positive psychology? Who would buy a book on? But when somebody writes a title like Learned Optimism, or a title like The Tipping Point, Who Moved My Cheese? It's all stories. The 1 Minute Manager. And the list goes on. David and Goliath. Outliers. The list goes on. I like Malcolm Gladwell. But you look at all his books, they're all stories. But this is about marketing, this is about social movements, this is about psychology, like Blink, and this other thing and that other thing. Serious topics, but you put them in story and everybody wants to learn.
History also.
Sorry?
History also.
History too, exactly. It's interesting that most religious scriptures are probably around 60-70% narratives, parables, stories. Games. People used to learn to type ASDF colon LKJ. ASDF colon LKJ. Now, you just go and play a game. And you've learned to type. You go into all these simulators to learn how to drive, to learn how to fly, to learn how to fight. You call it edutainment. It's education, but in an entertaining way. And so people pay more attention, they learn faster, and they actually learn better. They're more alert. Symphony or synergy, where people are finding interdisciplinary thing, multi this, multi that, putting all these things together. People find it quite boring to hear something from just one field. They'd like to hear something from elsewhere. I've noticed that I go to a program and somebody's going to talk about Islam and is going to bring some very interesting fact from cosmology that I didn't know, something from healthcare, something from marketing, something from this. It's more interesting than somebody who knows nothing about the rest of life other than his tafsir. He can't apply it to other fields. And so in da'wah, that's becoming even more important. Empathy, or what we now in business would call customer service. They care for how do people feel. One of the professions that have had the highest rise in salaries has been the nursing field, caregiving. Doctors are gradually becoming less relevant as computers and diagnostics technology have been playing a better role in diagnosing what's wrong with you. It used to be a doctor will test this, test that, etc. Now with a blood sample, it's unbelievable how much they know about you. Your heart condition, your cholesterol this, your kidneys, your liver, everything from just a few drops of blood. So the guesswork that doctors needed to do before, it's cut down drastically. But what makes people go to this hospital and not to the other hospital? It's the amount of empathy that doctors have. Most cases where doctors are actually taken to court for wrong prescription is not because those doctors or other doctors don't give wrong prescriptions. It's because the patient just felt this guy just didn't care. Yeah. So what they found is complaints of patients, legal complaints, was more tied to lack of empathy than the competence of the doctor. And the businesses, AirAsia, customize the flight for what people want. You want to watch something? Yeah, okay, you pay for that too. You want a meal? Okay, you want, right? Not everybody gets it whether you want it or not. If you want it, you get it. It's like little like your Android phones. What do you want the phone to do? Okay, you upload that application, and what you don't need is removed. The phone is what you want to make it. The flight is what you want to make it, and you pay for the package you're getting. And it leaves other businesses behind. And it's cheaper. And then what we've already discussed, meaning. And what's interesting is each of these are areas that computers have found very difficult to replicate. These are very human roles. Yeah. And so in da'wah, don't forget the actual love for the other, what you love for yourself. Treat people like human beings. What's interesting is most people who embrace Islam, and this is important in da'wah, most people who embrace Islam, when you say what made you interested in reading about Islam, it's not I read a leaflet, I heard a lecture, and I decided. It's usually I met a good Muslim. And then I became interested in the reading, not the other way around. A lot of people become interested in reading after they've met a live Muslim. And that's why probably one of the most important forms of da'wah is just live, engage with non-Muslims. For some people, after they engage with you, that's enough to say, you know what, all these things that Muslims are terrorists is nonsense. You don't need to clear a misconception. You're proof that that is all nonsense. So, very, very important. No literature can do or replace that. No number of websites can replace that. And of course, within volunteers, etc., the need to recognize connectors, specialists, and salespeople. Some people are just socially intelligent, and you won't believe the number of people they are in touch with. Most people would have between 200 to 300 numbers on their phones. Some people have thousands, 2,000, 3,000 numbers. They're like, how? And the people who've got up to 2,000 names on their phone don't even know that that means anything. Have you gone around with people who just seem to be bumping into people they know? Every time you move around with this person, hi, at the petrol station. I know that guy on television. And you know, like, they seem to just know it, like, who is this person? And they've just got a lifestyle like yours. They're doing whatever they're doing, and you're doing whatever. The person who on campus seems to know everybody and somebody in every faculty. You met them?
Yes.
Yes, they're there. And we don't have time to discuss the value they bring to Dawah, but these are very, very valuable people. These are people with a level of social intelligence and ability to link with people that we need to learn from. And if these people can become active in Dawah, it's unbelievable. Do you have friends, even within the family? Within your family or extended family, you've got people who, if they agree on something, there's a high chance that your parents will say yes. You find it in an organization. Somebody who is not the boss, but if there's a board meeting and this person feels we should do this, she knows how to present it in such a way that the directors will say yes. These are salespeople. They just have a way. You don't know how they do it, but they just have a way of doing it. They're very convincing. These are people who are very critical in Dawah. You would spend a month trying to help this person understand the point. This one, 5 minutes has cleared the misconception. And you're kind of like, you're convinced? Yeah, it's wonderful. Oh, and this person doesn't even know much. And then, of course, specialists, I think, is obvious. So, the need to distinguish between positional and moral authority. And for Dawah, moral authority is very important. Not who's the person at the top, but who's the person who's got the greatest respect. And so it's not about position. Consultation, shura, to be careful about being authoritarian, more authoritative, that the truth is on your side, not just your position or power is on your side. And this is important for level 5 leaders. We've already discussed them. Remember, they are clock builders. They want to produce leaders, which usually implies friction, which is good, as we will see in a few minutes. Remember, there is no commitment if there is no involvement. No commitment if no involvement. You don't expect people to, do everything if they're not involved in any part of it. And my favorite, nothing about us without us. During the ending of apartheid in South Africa, they actually had this as a maxim. The blacks in South Africa, who were in charge? The whites. They were in charge of the government, in charge of everything. When they moved to a more democratic system and the blacks could vote, then of course they were the majority. So they could put their own people into positions of power. But even in the discussion on the transition, the whites would call for a meeting. Okay, what do we do about the blacks? What do we do about this? And in that meeting, there's not a single black person. Be very careful about getting people who think like you from your own intellectual ghetto making decisions and plans for other groups. Yeah, because you'd be surprised and not know why it just doesn't work. The problem is not them, it's you. And so when you want to handle challenges, how do we help more women in Dawah? And men are wanting to decide on how to do that. Teenagers. There's people over 30. Yeah. People in their late 20s and 30s who want to plan Dawah programs for teenagers. And no teenager there. Like, wake up. And not just one from them that's closer to your thinking. No, who really represents them in their kind of thinking and group. You want to talk about converts or reverts and how to plan programs without getting converts and reverts involved in that thinking process? How can you do Dawah to non-Muslims if you don't have people who lived as non-Muslims? And that's why interfaith dialogue is important, because you get to understand what's going on in the head of non-Muslims. You're an organization and you've got new members. Bring them into the meetings. Bring them into the discussions. You've been an old member, you probably have forgotten what it feels like to be a new member who knows nobody except one person or two. And think of other groups. But remember, nothing about us without us, nothing about them without them. Curiosity in the wisdom of crowds. Outsourcing, open sourcing, new terminology. You must try and learn what strangers and others think about what you're doing. Most creativity they find just comes from other fields. Very few things are absolutely new. New inventions, you just where did this come from? Well, it's something they apply in the field of mechanics that we thought actually would be useful in dentistry. It's a way, biotechnology. Most of biotechnology is going in mimicry, biomimicry. They're just looking at how do animals and plants do their things, and then new ways of packaging compact technologies. They just study how do flowers open. And you know what? What do they call it? Bubblegum? There's a little toy that, they got this transformers, where a car turns into some big whatever, and then folds back. They actually study flowers and how they open and how they close. And they look at that as creating robots they can send on Mars that can then open up and become a whole car, do all sorts of things. Compact, less space, smaller shuttle, smaller this, etc. So while you say, wow, new, it's not really new. You just took it from the field of biology or botany and brought it somewhere else. So really appreciating crowds and diversity. And humility is required there. People say water continues to flow to the sea from all the rivers just because the sea is ready to stay below the rivers. The sea is more humble. But that's where its power comes from. It continues to get water as big as it is because of its humility. And even stones move away from mountains. Nothing wants to stay on the mountain because of its arrogance. The same thing with you as a leader or as a person. Humility is actually where your strength comes from. It's where your wisdom comes from. People share things more with you. They don't feel you're going to say, oh, I knew that. And anything they say, you say, yes, but. And you put in your own as if you knew something better. Searching for Allah's rizq with humility, because Allah decides where information is going to come from. Allah gives information through any of these, and you don't benefit because you just want to stay with your own ghetto. Importance, therefore, of getting independent opinions. This is very important. Not just influence. Influence is easy to get, but independent, one-on-one. Please, what do you think? So while it's good to get a group to advise you, usually the first person who speaks sets the tone of what others will say. So spend time on one-on-one, how do individuals think? Independent opinions. Private information, personal data, personal experience. From your experience, not you representing others. As a convert, tell me your story. What made you interested in Islam? It's not something anybody else would know. It's private and it's aggregated. It's not influenced by others. And very important, diverse perspectives. Get different angles. The musician who embraced Islam. The beauty queen who embraced Islam. The chef who embraced Islam. And the list goes on. The car mechanic, the this, the that. The university lecturer. What was your route? It helps you appreciate, I never thought of that. I met a lot of people who embraced Islam because they read the autobiography of Malcolm X. A lot of Westerners who embraced Islam because of that. And I'm like, of all books, Malcolm X, yes. Then I was reading a book that was looking at the 50 most influential books on spirituality in the West. And this person had tried to study and came up with his own criteria. That the autobiography of Malcolm X, The Way of the Sufi by Idris Shah, The Alchemy of Happiness, translated by Mukhtar Holland of Imam al-Ghazali, and The Road to Makkah by Muhammad Asad, have had more influence in spreading Islam than all the millions of copies of Quran that have been distributed.
So it's really important.
All right. So the need to really appreciate, what is really going out there. What's happening to the cheese. Not just what you think. I think we should have more Qurans we distribute. Maybe there's a novel you should be distributing. Maybe there's a lecture somebody gave that should be converted in a book. That should be given. Why? It's gone viral online. Maybe we should produce it as a booklet and distribute that. You won't get that with you and your own ghetto. You'll get that if you look for independent opinions, private and diverse. Problem with managing diversity in an organization, managing ideas and conflicting group interests naturally. Importance of appreciating specialization as not being disunity, it's just specialization. And yeah, we've said a little about this in the beginning, but one that I want to just touch on is really starfish and spiders. If you cut the leg of a spider, no new leg comes out. If you cut the spider into two, it's dead. You have species of starfish where if you cut the leg of a starfish off, a new leg grows out. And the piece of leg you cut off becomes a new starfish. So there are some of these people who are concerned about too many starfish in one part of Australia, and they decided to go and just kill them all. Yeah, guess what happened? They just multiplied. Some organizations are like spiders. There's a head, it's centralized. If anything happens to the boss, it's gone. Other organizations are like starfish. You don't even know who's the boss, where's the head. Now when you say the environmental movement, who is heading it in Malaysia? How do you go and end it? How do you end the feminist movement? How do you end the gay movement? How do you end, it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, but once it's become a movement, you've got difficulty there. It's not one person heading it. Who's heading the Islamic movement? And so as an organization, there's benefit in centralized being like a spider, but probably to see how you could be more like a hybrid than an organization that just splits off, then splits off. You've got many little organizations, each growing. After they've reached a size, they split off again, like amoeba. A hybrid where you've got a core group that grows and keeps up with the changes of the cheese, but at the same time is able to ensure that you start a movement, that you've trained, produced enough people to go ahead and solve various problems. So it needs food for thought. You can affect so many segments of Malaysian society if you just sit and ask yourself, what diversity of people would we have to work with? Should we consider inviting actors and actresses to any programs? Would they be able to clear some misconceptions in their own way that we wouldn't be able to? Or do we have no time for them? Etc. Love your enemy. Tension in da'wah, useful, as we've already discussed, I think, in answering Sister's question. How is conflict useful? Recognizing all ideas as being like rough diamonds, and conflict and disagreement as being a way of polishing them to get what's best out of it. They've gone through kind of a peer review, if I use academic language. To appreciate the movement value of ideas. If somebody gives you an idea which is not good, but that gives you another idea which is good. So the idea actually is useful, even though it wasn't useful in and of itself, it had another value. And it's very important when you're dealing with children, or dawah with children. You ask a question and the child gives an answer. That's interesting. Okay, because it reminds me of, and you move to what you, so not to just shoot it down, otherwise you can kill curiosity. So look at conflict and disagreement as a way of polishing ideas and polishing approaches, and the importance of ethics of disagreement in Islam as a lubricant in handling disagreement. That at the end of the day you agree that you disagree, but you stay agreeable. Constructive discontent, does anybody know what that means? Can you guess what it means? Constructive discontent. Discontent?
Criticism?
Okay, yeah, not satisfied, you'd like to criticize something, good. Constructive discontent, what do you mean?
Criticize in some way, he will repair himself.
Very good. In other words, you're not happy with the present state, but it's for a constructive purpose. You know, it's like the moving away from your comfort zone or where there's cheese. You're not happy, but that lack of happiness actually becomes a source of motivation. And this is what sometimes feedback for our programs, etc. does. You get to really know. You're not happy about it, but good you know about it and people didn't keep quiet. We've already discussed how the enemy of the best and of the good and the adequate. Oh, all right. You know what I mean. The enemy of the best can be what you consider good and adequate. Because it's good, you don't look for something better. Because it's adequate, somebody is working with you, you're not happy, but because you decide to be satisfied, you say, okay, we'll manage. And somebody better is no more doing the job. So to go beyond just merely being a good organization to being a significant and great organization. So you have to look, like whatever feedback you're getting, mashallah, this program was good, whatever, that's just good. Don't allow yourself to be satisfied with that type of positive feedback. If you're not careful, it will just be locking you into the cheese. You have to think of, okay, fine, thank you, but let us be more critical. And this is where sometimes your enemy is more useful. The one who sees your faults and nothing but that. Yeah. Beware of this we have arrived syndrome. Ask yourself, what's the next mountain, the next area of improvement? There's something Bill Gates said that I love. He said, we are insistent on making our product obsolete before anyone else does. Yeah. When they produce an operating system, they want to be the ones to kick it out of the market. They're not waiting for anything to happen to it. In fact, nothing has to be wrong with it. And he said, if you cannot produce something new, make it look new. It just should not be the same. Yeah. So again, your da'wah method, your presentation methods, your everything, your organization, how do you make sure next year it's not the same everything? Yeah, that you keep moving as cheese moves. So it's about thanking Allah for where you have reached, but not looking below or behind and just saying, oh, we've progressed or we're better than, so it's enough. That's just another form of social comparison. It's comforting that you are ahead of others, but you may get complacent. As the last slide, just some authors that you may find useful if you're interested in this area. Jim Collins wrote some very good books. Edward de Bono has written some very good books on thinking. This is on organizational management, built to last, and what makes some endure good to great. He a lot on thinking styles. We've not had time to do that, but that's useful. Particularly a book called The Six Thinking Hats, which inshallah probably next time we'll touch on. Daniel Pink has written a number of very good books on issues, and each of his books I think has something useful for those involved in da'wah and motivation. Hisham Talib Tom Peters, Malcolm Gladwell, Stephen Covey, etc., etc. Jazakumullah khair.
Alhamdulillah.